Hey, everybody, it's Alan, and I hope that you are doing well. So, I've been dealing with some technical difficulties for the last couple of weeks. Still got some bugs to work out of the system, but at least I'm able to create some content for you. So, as I work through these issues, hopefully I'll be able to continue creating the content and we'll have some fun doing so. With that said, we're going to go back to 1967 and check out the band Electric Flag featuring the legendary guitar player Mike Bloomfield and a very young drummer who would go on to play with Jimi Hendrix later on, a gentleman by the name of Buddy Miles. And here is the song called Wine.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Down in New Orleans where everything's fine, all them people just buying that wine. Drinking wine is their delight, and when they get drunk they start fighting all night. Knocking down windows, breaking down doors, drinking half gallons and coming for more. Now you got a nickel, I got a dime, let's get together and buy some wine. Some buy a pint, some buy a quart, but if you buy half gallon you're playing it's fine. Drinking wine, wine, wine. Hey buddy, pass that bottle of me. Elderberry, corn or sherry, sweet Lucy, find a good wine. Hey buddy, pass that bottle of me. Wine is their delight. When they get drunk, they start fighting all night. Knocking down windows, breaking down doors, drinking half gallons and shouting for more. Hey baby, hey baby, hey baby, hey baby, hey baby, hey baby. Elderberry, or sherry, sweet Lucy, found a good wine. Hey baby.
Mike Bloomfield is one of those unbelievably influential guitar players that, again, so many people will overlook today because they just don't know about the man. But it is very conceivable that without the influence of Mike Bloomfield and the likes of Peter Green with Fleetwood Mac, you wouldn't necessarily have the impact of the Les Paul on guitar culture today. I know that sounds like a bit of a stretch, and I totally understand it. But at the end of the day, Eric Clapton's performance on the Beano album with John Mayall and the Blues Breakers gets a lot of headlines, but Clapton himself will point to Bloomfield regarding specifically what he was doing with a Les Paul. And it's not just him. It's the likes of Billy Gibbons and others also highly respecting what Bloomfield was doing with a Les Paul. That tone, that pushed amp tone with a humbucking pickup. Again, this is 1967. The humbucking pickup came out in 1957. And again, pushing an amplifier with the volume all the way up wasn't necessarily something that people really thought about. Obviously, Hendrix did. Obviously, Clapton did with Bloomfield and with Cream. But again, the bigger names like Clapton and others um, will regularly mention and bow to the fact that the likes of Bloomfield were doing it first. It's just Bloomfield's music wasn't necessarily as present in sort of the landscape of music at the time. Cream hit real hard. They hit real hard when they came out, and that humbucker driven guitar tone, it wasn't something you heard Hendrix doing. Hendrix did it with single coils. You go back to Woodstock and you listen to what Santana was doing in that phenomenal performance. That was with P90s. You heard in that Woodstock performance, you heard Alvin Lee in 10 Years After absolutely crushing what essentially was a 1-4-5 blues groove, but because he was using a 335 with a humbucker pushing the front end of an amplifier in 1969, you heard this powerful, driving, fast, shreddy kind of guitar tone that, again, you didn't get out of single coils. You didn't get it out of the P90s that Pete Townsend was using on his SG. And again, Bloomfield was a huge spark in the recording world and in the rock world when it came right down to it. He just had a tone and a vibe and a feeling that sort of sparked the imagination of the generations that followed him. But again, passed away too early for him to be sort of a mainstay in the mindset of younger generations of guitar players. We talk about guitar sounds and guitar playing and guitar styles, and at the end of the day, everybody is just a mashup of the influences that push them to want to learn their craft or learn their trade. And no two guitar players are exactly the same. Frankly, the best example I can think of that is, you got Stevie Ray Vaughan and Jimmy Vaughan growing up in basically the same house, some years apart. But if you listen to Stevie Ray Vaughan's guitar playing, you listen to Jimmy Vaughan's guitar playing, even though they had a lot of, and I mean a lot of the same influences, Stevie took a few different things from other guitar players that Jimmy didn't necessarily take. Plus, Stevie had the influence of his brother playing guitar, which means he was inspired not only by Jimmy Vaughan playing guitar, but by acts that Stevie would go to see playing with Jimmy Vaughan and the Thunderbirds. Again, you get this extra layer of influence that very much alters the way that the two guitar players that grow up together, and they're not clones of each other. Stevie and Jimmy had very different tones. Albert King and Stevie Ray Vaughan had very different tones. If you listen to the guitar players who played with each other, part of the beauty is how there's enough of an overlap in different guitar players where when they play together, they do have an overlap in styles, but then there's that divergence that makes each of them different, whether it be, think of two dual guitar bands like the Allman Brothers with Dwayne and Dickie Betts, or Dickie Betts and Warren Haynes, or Dan Toller, or go back and listen to Leonard Skinner and the three guitar attack with Ed King, Alan Collins, and Gary Rosington, and how that changed when Steve Gaines joined the band after Ed King had left. It's the magic of playing an instrument and cultivating the things that catch your ear and trying to learn how to do them. And yet, if we focus it all back, we can go back in time, and I'm rambling right now. Let me put it to you this way. I saw a question online not terribly long ago, and it was saying, who's the most influential blues rock guitar player or blues guitar player of all time? And it listed the likes of, Hendrix and Eric Clapton and Santana and others. And my answer to the question was Robert Johnson. And the reason for that is because if we focus all the way back down, you can kind of get to the Robert Johnson root of the blues tree. Robert Johnson influenced Muddy Waters, who influenced Eric Clapton, who influenced Stevie Ray Vaughan, and Eddie Van Halen, who influenced John Mayer, and so on and so forth. But you can sort of funnel down the root of the tree to a handful of legendary guitar players, whether it be Howlin' Wolf, or Lightnin' Hopkins, or again, Robert Johnson or others. It's kind of amazing to think about that you can go back and narrow it down that much. Again, I'm rambling. I'm sorry about that. It's been 2 weeks since I've talked into a microphone, so I guess all kinds of weird thoughts are going through my head. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that. Please feel free to leave a comment. We can talk about it further. Just know that I appreciate all of you, and I wish you well.